Hey, this is the Well Advice channel too. What I want to talk about today is the Frisco track meet stabbing. So for this video, I will discuss the Frisco track meet stabbing when it comes to specifically talking about this, not just the situation, but if it from the perspective of should Carmelo Anthony go to prison. So now that I mentioned that, let's get started. So when it comes to the specific topic of this whole Frisco track meet stabbing situation. Should Carmelo Anthony go to prison? At least according to the perspective of the story that's been told, that as actually Austin Metcalf, who was the one who got stabbed, was the one who started it. Well, the simple answer to that question is if he was the one who started it, Carmelo Anthony shouldn't spend a single day in prison. Now, the reason why I say that, okay, because for that matter, okay, which is something that's very, very, very true, is that the truth of the matter is, I know there's been a lot of controversy about this story, obviously, because you can clearly see the racial implications of it, or I should say, the racial undertones, to be more specific. The fact that a black kid stabbed a white kid, and black people, especially in recent times, have been stereotyped as being racist and criminals and all this type of stuff, especially in more recent times. We've been stereotyped more heavily than we've been in the past 10 or so plus years, at least in terms of recent history, okay? So the truth of the matter is there's a lot of controversy surrounding black people, like it's been for the past 500 plus years, and it's definitely not gotten any better with, of course, the election of Donald Trump, for crying out loud, okay? So that's pretty much the story when it comes to the racial undertones of it. And the situation, this track meet situation has definitely not made things any better whatsoever, okay? So that's the truth of the matter, okay? Because the thing is about this situation, is that if is that even though we don't know all the full-blown evidence at this point, okay, we don't know exactly what happened, what caused it. The simple truth of the matter is, at least if we do find out that the person who got killed was the one who started it, the simple truth of the matter is, all I have to simply say is that he brought it on himself, okay? Because even though there's controversy around it, like I was getting at before, about it for that matter, of course, because of racial undertones, no surprise, the story of it, and of course, black people are stereotyped as being violent. The simple truth of the matter is, this is not something for there to be controversy about, for that matter, okay? Because the simple truth of the matter is, if that's part of the story is true, he had every right to defend himself, because the truth of the matter is, in life, whenever somebody starts shit with you, especially when it's in a public place and that, like the track meet and not in a direct environment where it can at least be controlled, then you have absolutely the freaking right to realize you can defend yourself in any way. Because fights are not a joke. The smallest mistake you make can really screw you up, especially when it's out in a public area, okay? Especially when you take in consideration that there's also a term known as you should avoid street fights. For anyone who's familiar with the idea of street fights, which actually street fights just generally mean any fight that happens in a general public area, for that matter, So when it comes to that whole notion and logic, why is the situation any different? Any way, shape, or form whatsoever. Yeah, people say, well, it's still on school premises. That still doesn't count, because it's still out in a public area. And when it's out in a public area, it's, of course, takes a lot longer for someone to step in and, of course, stop the situation from continuing on. And that's the truth of the matter, okay? So that is the honest truth of the matter, okay? When it comes to this particular situation, okay? At least if the story of the side that the twin brothers, because it was not just Austin Metcalf, it was him with another brother of his, were at least the ones who started it, for that matter, okay? Because the simple truth of the matter is even though I know people always make the argument, well, what was he doing on a public place with a knife anyway? That's the biggest argument People who believe Carmelo Anthony should be in prison always say, well, why was he was in a public place with a knife anyway? But at the same time, the simple common sense answer is that why would a brother start a fight with someone? Why? And that's the problem with this whole situation, okay? Is that from the very first place, why didn't they just simply call security or call someone who's a school official or something to go speak to him and have the situation resolved? Why the hell do these two people feel like they have the right to take it on themselves? That's a question I want to have. And that's the truth of the matter, at least if that side of the story is true. Because the simple truth of the matter is that in life, whenever somebody lays a freaking finger on you, for that matter, you have the right to defend yourself, okay? Because the simple truth of the matter is what gives somebody, another human being, the freaking right to feel that they have the right to, to bother someone in the first place. Keep your hands to your freaking self, you know? Why the hell, who the hell do they think they are? We don't know the full details, but at least if the side of the story is true, it's the same truth. Who the hell do they think they are? What, your security? What, your cops? What the hell are you telling someone to freaking leave a premise? What? Who give you the freaking right to feel? Oh yeah, I have the right to tell you to leave the premise. Who the fuck do they think they are? What, God? If it's a public area, who the hell do they have the right to feel that they have the right to tell you to leave the premise, and let alone feel that they have the right to put their hands on you? That's the question I want to ask here. And I know some people say, well, we're so overpowered force. Okay, and this is coming from the same type of place that feel it's okay for people to open carry guns. So what exactly are you talking about? You say on one hand, oh well, why is he going to attract me with a knife anyway? Yet this is the same country, specifically in that region of the country, of course, no surprise, the South, where people go around walking around with guns. People even go to grocery stores with guns open in a public for open for the whole public to see. So what exactly are you talking about? Well, he shouldn't have been out there. When we live in a nation where people are literally walking around, especially in that part of America, with 10, 15 round magazines out in the public for open carry in a public area, you know, for crying out freaking loud, in a public area. And trust me, you don't even know what's going through some people's heads, especially as well in a nation where they don't even do good background checks for people, especially in that part of America, when it comes to owning a firearm. So what exactly are you talking about when it says, why do you come to a place with a knife anyway? Especially in a nation where people go around carrying freaking guns that could easily do way more damage and hurt way more people more easily in an open environment. Why is it okay for these middle-aged white men specifically, and let alone white people for that matter in general, to walk around with guns open carry, and a black person just walks in a place with a knife? Oh, it's a big deal. Who cares? In the end of the day, the answer to the question is, did he fight in self-defense? There's no if, ands, or buts, or you talk around the situation. The answer is simple. Did the brothers start it? That is it in the end of the day. And did Karmelo Anthony act in self-defense? Why the hell are they touching someone in the first place? And that's the truth of the matter about this situation. That gets me so angry. We don't know all the full details, but the comments on YouTube and the internet online get me freaking furious. Because at the end of the day, what the hell were they, doing anyway? You can't defend it. And the reason why they're defending it is because they simply don't like black people. That's it in the end of the day. There's no big thing about it or anything deep. They just don't like black people. It's as simple as that. And I clearly point out the obvious blatant hypocrisy. They don't like black people, and they don't like the idea that black people will fight back and go against them. Because a lot of people in America, okay, simply don't like the idea of us fighting back. They don't like it. It makes them feel uncomfortable, in the end of the day. And it makes them feel uncomfortable and makes them angry and furious because they feel in the end of the day, they have this entitlement way of thinking that they can treat black people however the fuck they want to treat them. And some black people are not having it, especially in this new generation. They're not the older generation who would say, oh, we're going to do something and this and that. And they end up doing nothing in the end of the day. And they just do these silly, cheesy ass confrontations, when people are being racist and saying they're going to do this, and they don't do anything in the end of the day. For us new generation people, especially this Gen Zers, they don't play. They say they're going to do something, and they're going to actually do it. They're not the older black generations who, even though, of course, I care for them and, and I hope the best for them, and, and stuff. Let's keep it real. They didn't really do anything, and they just always fronting and act like, oh, we're gonna do something. And they don't do it. This new generation don't play games at all, and that's the simple truth of the matter. In the end of the day, and they just simply wanted to be like how it used to be. Black people had to always walk around with their head down. You couldn't make eye contact with a white person. You couldn't do this. You couldn't do that. And that's how they want it. And that's the simple truth of the matter. There's nothing deep or meaningful to the situation. If Carmelo Anthony acted in self-defense, then he had every right to act in self-defense. And the people who are doing this, at least defending it, at least the ones who've been exposed to the alternate side of the story, are simply doing it because they simply do not like black people. Okay, let's keep it real. There's nothing to debate or anything meaningful about the situation if this scenario is correct. We don't know at this point yet, but if it's that way, he had every right to defend himself. There's nothing big or deep or complex about it. He had every right to defend himself. So anyway, this is my video. All I hope to say is that I hope you found it informative and even enjoyable. And it's all to say. And just remember, if you like this video and videos like this, remember to thumbs this video up, hit the subscribe button, and this is all to say. And simply put, I'm out. So bye.